I think the most important thing we need to think about as a country is the fact that our current financial trajectory is disastrous. We cannot sustain what we've been doing. We can't do it. We are Greece. Just there's no one big enough to bail us out. And the day will come when the chickens come home to roost. What I think everyone needs to consider is who is it that has the skills to help us through one of the most difficult issues that we will face in our lifetimes? Who is it that has the skills to guide us through a maze of numbers and facts and figures and laws and competing interests to create a reasonable, rational solution to what is clearly the most difficult problem that we will ever face as a country? And the answer to that question, the question, who is it that has those skills, is to look at who has dealt with this very issue. I first got to know Dan when he was serving as a state legislator in the Utah State Senate, and he was doing he was tackling one of the most difficult issues that everyone was talking about, but no one was really doing anything about, and that's Medicaid. And the fact that Medicaid is gobbling up our state budget. I mean, all the money that we should have been spending towards education growth, we were spending on Medicaid. And I got to know Dan because he was the one who really took charge of that issue. He was one person who had the respect of both of the houses, the House and the Senate. Everyone respected him, but he also had the intellect to understand the issue. I mean, it's a complicated issue, and you don't reform something as complicated as Medicaid without having a really solid understanding of the numbers and how all the pieces fit together. And Dan did, and so I got to know him when he first was tackling that issue as a state senator. Dan's the kind of person who doesn't go out of his way to be combative. He doesn't poke people in the eye. He builds teams. When I worked in the United States Senate on Capitol Hill, in fact, one of the things I saw is that there were certain problems, like entitlement reform, that everyone agreed needed to be dealt with. They knew they were problems, something had to be done, but because there were so many members of the Senate that would simply use pejorative terms when they talked about each other and go on cable news channels and just criticize each other, in the end, nothing happened. We were left with a problem that wasn't dealt with and a situation even worse than we started with. Dan was able to take probably the most difficult issue that we have faced as a state, the issue of pension reform, and take individuals from differing sides of the political spectrum and bring them together to find a solution to this problem. You see, if we send someone to DC who can't do that, there will be no solution. Because in the United States Congress, and specifically in the Senate, to get anything substantive passed, you need 60 votes. You don't need 51, you need 60 votes. And you won't get 60 votes unless the individual that we send is able to bring people from both sides of the political aisle to solve the issue. Dan Liljenquist did, here in the state of Utah, exactly the thing that we need done in the United States Senate. And he did it as a first-year freshman senator with no seniority.